Hello, we have had a pretty small but important update to the game of Warhammer 40,000 today, and GW is just giving us a little gift, toning down a few of the things that had some silly combinations from the Grotmas detachments. So we're going to quickly go through them. Some of these will actually be quite impactful, some of them not so impactful, but let's walk through it. We also have brand new points for the Astra Militarum, for all of you who were terrified by how unreasonably cheap they were in the Codex. Breathe, relax. GW has done their thing, and they have absolutely toned it down quite a bit. So we are going to go ahead and run through this bad boy. First off, the Grotmas detachments all got a little FAQ pass just to make sure everything was kosher. So for the Adeptus Custodes and Solar Spearhead, the only real change here was the enhancement for Veterans of the Cataphractoi, which allows a mounted a mounted or vehicle unit to fall back and shoot into that will have to be within 6 inches of the bearer in the command phase. Previously, it wasn't just locked to the command phase, which made it a little more flexible. This really doesn't change anything. I actually don't particularly think you're actually going to take this enhancement anyway. So there you have it. Then the Adeptus Mechanicus, they actually got a pretty profound change. This is one I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of. I actually really loved the flavor of it. But you know what? It is what it is. So we play the game the way the game is handed to us. So the Adeptus Mechanicus in their new Halo Screed Battleclade, their special rule would allow the override transference to apply to allies as well, because previously it was just units in the army. So GW went back and they realized they don't want advanced and charging Knight Lancers allying with the Adeptus Mechanicus, although I kind of thought that would be like awesome. And they did keyword lock it to simply just the ad mech units. Forgive me, we got a little child in the background, and she's being a child. She's beautiful and lovely, but she's a little cryy. All right, then we have the Chaos Knights. They got an update. This is another change that it doesn't actually affect the game very much, but honestly, it's just a flavor change that I disapprove of. So for the Chaos Knights, the Iconoclast Fiefdom, the Dark Sacrifice ability, previously, it didn't specify that you had to sacrifice your damned units. So if you were playing in a mirror match, you could actually sacrifice your opponent's damned units, or if you were playing against Chaos Space Marines, you could sacrifice their cultists. Um, Realistically, this doesn't actually make much of a difference, but I actually just love the flavor of Chaos Knights not caring what damned units. Just if you pledge your souls to the dark gods, then we will just sacrifice you whenever we want. But they did change it so that it is only the friendly damned units, which is totally reasonable and it makes sense for gameplay and balance play. Don't get me wrong. It's just I didn't think it was something that was actually very profound by any means, but it was just a cool little flavor thing the way they had it. So but you know what? They decided that they wanted to keep it all competitively balanced. And who am I to complain about competitive balance? Because honestly, I love competitive balance. So then we look at the Death Watch. Death Watch got a relatively meaningless errata. So the Talon Strike Kill Team, the Hand Flamer, is officially a pistol now, which of course it is. For the Fortis Kill Team, your Astartes Chainsword's weapon skill has been changed to 3-up, which, okay. And then lastly, the Hand Flamer for just basically everything in the Death Watch army also now has a pistol keyword on it. That's pretty much. They also added an FAQ here, and if you're using a Black Spear Task Force, do all Adeptus Astartes units gain access to mission tactics, or only the datasheets with mission tactics listed on their faction abilities? And the answer is only the datasheets with mission tactics listed on their faction abilities. Now, this was fairly clear the way it was written, but there were a lot of people arguing that everything in the army got the ability. So there you have it spelled out plainly. Thank you, GW. This is exactly the type of FAQs we need, just to make sure it is spelled out plainly so people can't really misinterpret it. Because I've misinterpreted rules before, so I understand that other people misinterpret rules, but this is black and white. Here you go. No, only the datasheets with the mission tactics ability will get to benefit from the mission tactics, which well done, GW, and that's a very clear, good, concise FAQ. Then the Necrons. Now, this is a really important one. Star Shatter Arsenal was a little overtuned. So they did get a big change, like a big change. I still think Star Shatter Arsenal is awesome. I don't think this has dropped its power level to like, oh no, Star Shatter Arsenal is not good anymore. Not at all. It's just a few small tweaks that's going to make it a much more reasonably powered army. So the Demanding Leader enhancement, it's getting the same change as the Adeptus Custodes, which is cool. So previously, this was allowing Necrons vehicles and mounted units to, within 6 inches of the bearer, to fall back and shoot. But it was not linked to the command phase. So like you could fall back and then advance your model over there to give them fall back and shoot. But now it is in the command phase and it's selecting one friendly Necron's vehicle or mounted unit. And I think that's just good balance. It just means that you're going to have to kind of plan on your positioning to make sure that you're units going to be able to take advantage of the enhancement. Then Star Shatter Arsenal Merciless Reclamation. CP cost has gone up to 2 CP. I don't quite remember which one that is, so Merciless Reclamation, let's check it. Merciless Reclamation, you're shooting your fight phase. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes attack, the +1 to the wound roll is now 2 CP. That's good, because that was a very, very powerful ability that could work on any Necron unit, including like Satan and stuff. So it was not keyword locked. So I think that's a very good change. And then lastly, Star Shatter Arsenal Unyielding Forms. CP is also changed for 2 CP. Unyielding Forms is going to be your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets until the end of the phase each time an attack targets a model unit. If the strength characteristic is greater than the toughness, subtract 1 from the wound roll. I think this is generally an okay change. I don't necessarily grasp why this needs to be 2 CP. I think it's just because they wanted to tone the power of the detachment down a little bit. It's kind of odd that they're going to make this one 2 CP because in all reality, like that's just a very basic stratagem that most other detachments have access to. But I think they just wanted to tone down the power without really affecting everything about the way the detachment works, which fair play. And then lastly, the Star Shatter Arsenal Reactive Reposition. The ability has been changed from doing a normal move up to 6. It is now doing a normal move of up to D6, which makes it a little bit less reliable for your opponents. This certainly tones down the Star Shatter Arsenal. It's still a very powerful detachment, and you're definitely going to see it do amazing things in tournament play. But this is good. Overall, it was too strong, and this is a reasonable tone down, and I think we're going to be much more pleased with it. And then lastly, there was an errata for the Thousand Suns. While the Bears unit is basically it doesn't change anything. It just says you can add 6 inches to the range of psychic abilities. That has a specify. It doesn't mean that you have to add 6 inches. I don't understand why that errata was necessary. It just was. So that was that. Then we did have a update to the Munitorium Field Manual, and if I have that pulled up here, here we go. And it really only affects the Astra Militarum and the Orcs. Orcs, officially, your tank busters do cost 120 instead of what it was with the old datasheet. But this doesn't really change anything because when tank busters get their new datasheet, they also get the new points cost of 120. So when you go down to Orcs where it says plus 30 points, it's just putting it to 120 points. It's just so it doesn't really change anything. It just makes it official, so everything looks nice and good. So now when we look at our freaking Astra Militarum, this is something that I was really concerned about when I saw the initial points cost in that book. I was really, really concerned. But it looks like GW did take note, and they're making sure that everything is A-okay. One thing I really want to look at is what are these combat engineers looking at? Because those were like the 30-point things, right? Everything's okay. Some of the Lehman Russes are getting shockingly cheap, like the Vanquisher at 145. So, but some of them are also getting a little more pricey. The Eradicator went up. The Demolisher is still 190. So I'm a little interested to see how all of this works. The Krieg Combat Engineers did go from 35 points to 70 points. Thank goodness. Honestly, they're still cheap at 70 points, but they're not disgustingly cheap or anything. I think that's probably pretty reasonable. So this is just overall great changes. Means that GW definitely understood what they were doing, and they didn't release the book as is. And this is something that we've seen every single time a new book has been released. GW has pretty much always, more or less, changed the points because the points are never fair. So there you have it. So GW did a good job with that. I don't think there's anything else in here that has really changed, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, yeah, actually, there was a little change, and let me pull that up for you. So we had it right here. This is actually just nice little information for everyone, just so you have it. The big things that were changed here is updates and erratas to the Siege Regiment Artillery Support. This is a busted ability that is now just really good, but not quite as busted. Instead of what it previously was, which is every enemy unit that is outside of 12 inches on a 5-up, they take -2 to move, advance, and charge. Now it is only -2 to move and charge. It's not -2 to your advance roll anymore, which definitely is nice. It's still a very, very strong ability, but it's nice. When we look at the Earthshaker or the Basilisk, it is also the Shaken, so it does not stack with the ability. It does not stack with the Siege Regiment Artillery Support ability. And it has also been changed to move characteristic and charge rolls. So it no longer applies to the advance rolls, which I think is good. Being -2 your move, -2 your advance, and -2 your charge is just overly crippling. So I think that was generally quite good. Just a few other very small, tiny changes. So the Castrican ranged weapon now has a 3-up for the plasma pistol for its ballistic skill. Um, your Aquilin's bolt pistols ballistic skill is now a 3-up. Tempest Scion's plasma pistol, bolt pistols, etc., are 3+, and the range of the Krieg heavy weapon squad for their last pistol is now 12 inches and not 48 inches. So those are the big changes, and there was one final change that I noticed for the Tal Empire. You do now get the "for the greater good" keyword on the Ethereal. So that was what it is. Some of these are actually very profound changes. So like all the changes to Astra Militarum for the points is profound. The Star Shatter Arsenal changes are profound. Some of them are not so profound. Like the Halo's Creed is also pretty profound. Basically, nothing else was really all that profound, but it's just cleaning up a few little interactions. So that was the FAQ update. I've got another video I'm going to post later tonight because this was just a kind of quick impromptu one for you guys, just keeping you abreast of all the news. But I got some good stuff for you coming up later, so make sure you tune in. And with that, I am going to pop off here. Happy Crumman. Bye-bye.